Kim, look at all the nerds that have showed up today. Outward nerds, inner nerds, wannabe nerds. It's great to see so many folks today. Welcome. We'll give a minute as folks are still joining from the waiting room. As we shared yesterday, there is a rally today for SNAP at the State House steps at 12 noon. I'm going to go so I can report back tomorrow. Um, so that's happening today. There's also a lot of writing yesterday about the literacy bill that's been going through the legislature, and looks like that will move through the House today. So stay tuned for that update as well. And we're so happy to have members of the leadership team of the Massachusetts Early Childhood Research Policy Collaborative. And there are so many people involved that we did not put their names in the blurb on the 9:30 call. But Siobhan has made a slide with all of their information, which I am going to post in the follow-up folder for the 9:30 call. And with that, I think I'll turn it over to you, Kim. Does that work? All right, welcome.
All right. Thank you so much, Amy. We're so excited to be here. Hi, everybody. There's 71 people on this call this morning, and we're so excited for us to get kicked off. Uh-oh, hopefully I'm not. Am I frozen? Yikes.
You're not frozen, but you are moving in a little bit of slow motion.
Okay, got it. Okay, as long as I'm not frozen, we're good. I'm going to kick it off. My name is Kim Lucas. And can I get an emoji? It's early, it's Tuesday. Can I get some emojis out there if you are a nerd? Yes, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. It's floating. Oh my God, this is great. Nerds in the house. Hello, everyone. I'm Kim Lucas. I'm at Northeastern University. I'm a professor of the practice, and I'm here as part of the Massachusetts Early Childhood Policy Research Collaborative Leadership Team. We're going to go around and introduce ourselves, and I'm going to help organize this. So I'm going to hand it over to Nicole, Elin, and then Siobhan, and then we're going to keep going and introduce ourselves. There's so many of us.
Hi, I'm Nicole Kingdon. I'm located in Boston, Massachusetts at Boston University, where I am a doctoral student in educational studies with a concentration in language and literacy, and also a graduate research fellow at the Center on the Ecology of Early Development. I'll pass it off to Yellen.
Hi everyone, my name is Yilin Wang and I'm a fourth year PhD student in the Applied Developmental and Educational Psychology program at Boston College. And I will pass it to Shiwan.
Good morning, everyone. I am Siobhan Drayton. In my professional life, I am the Senior Director of Early Education at Horizons for Homeless Children. I am also a grad student at Boston University in their Leadership Policy and Advocacy program. And lastly, the intern for the Massachusetts Early Childhood Policy and Research Collaborative. Good morning.
Siobhan, what about your past life?
My past life, I was an early educator for 11 years in the infant room. Also, a member of cohort 3 of the Advocacy Network with Strategies for Children,
All right.
and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Thanks, Siobhan.
Awesome. And we're going to turn it over to Patrice, Yuzu, and Dahi, and Kyle.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patrice Collins. Thank you, Kim, for the intro. I'm a professor, assistant professor in criminology and Africana studies at Northeastern, and I am a previous early childhood educator prior to this profession.
I'm gonna catch the ball. Thanks, Kim, for the introduction. My name is Yu Xia. I'm with the Boston Public Schools in the Early Childhood Department. I'm also part of the Strategic Data Project Fellowship at Harvard. So I'm an early ed nerd and also a data geek. I'm gonna pass it to Dahi.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dahi Ku. I'm an assistant professor at UMass Boston. And before academia, I was a pre-K bilingual teacher in Chicago Public Schools.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kyle DeMeo Cook. I'm a clinical assistant professor at Boston University's Wheelock College of Education and Human Development in the master's degree program of leadership, policy, and advocacy for early childhood well-being. So we're super excited to have Siobhan here as one of our students. And I think I'm the end. Maybe Wendy Robeson's not here with us today, but she's another member of the leadership team. So I just wanted to make sure she's noted too. Back to you, Kim.
Wait a
Cool.
minute, Kyle, what about your past life?
And I'm a proud alumni of Strategies for Children, where I was the early childhood field director, and I started as an intern. So
Thank you,
thank you,
Kyle.
Amy.
Cool. And I am also a former early educator and also formerly SFC alum, way, way back in the
Wait.
day. So cool. This is great. We want to give a big shout out to Sheila Gold, who was part of our leadership team over summer. And so, Western Mass represent for sure, especially in the work that we're going to present to you today. Siobhan, I'll hand it over to you.
I have breaking news that we've broken 100 people this morning on the research call.
How exciting. We are going to get started with our PowerPoint for the morning. And we've already gone through a bit, which were our introductions. And now we get to share a little bit about who we are as a collaborative. And so who we are, we were officially founded in 2025 by the senior leadership team, which was comprised of Kim, Wendy, and Kyle, just thinking boldly and out of the box about how we can get all of the people that are dedicated to early childhood policy and research together in one space. So that is everybody from researchers to data analysts, practitioners, policymakers, educators, and advocates. How can we do that? And so they came up with a team of senior leaders, which is the three that I just mentioned, Kim, Kyle, and Wendy. And then they had me, an intern, as well as one other Boston University intern at the time for the summer, Nicole Kingdon. We developed a leadership team that was able to create the summit that you'll learn about shortly. And then we also had a working group to develop all of the information and the data points that we collected from the summit back in April. And so that's just a little bit of who we are, our roles as members of the collaborative, and how we've worked. Over to you, Patrice.
Thank you. So I'm just going to highlight our values. So we spent a lot of time over the summer comprising the data from the summit and then thinking through our core principles and values. And we were able to put them together this way. So we focus primarily on community-centered approaches that are co-constructed and strength-based. That is the value of the research that we're hoping to achieve. Also, we focus on inclusivity and equitable engagement. So every voice is valued, from families to practitioners and the different stakeholders that Siobhan mentioned, as well as thinking through how we can communicate more accessibly and through action-oriented approaches.
Thank you, Patrice. So when we first gathered at Wellesley in April for the Massachusetts Early Childhood Policy Research Summit, none of us quite knew what to expect. So to be honest, personally, I submitted a poster, I got selected, but that's all. So I didn't know what's going to happen. But what happened actually that day far exceeded at least what I've imagined. We had over 100 participants representing more than 50 organizations, 60 organizations. We had researchers, practitioners, funders, policymakers, and advocates coming together around one shared belief that early childhood research in Massachusetts is powerful, but often happens in silos. And that by connecting across those boundaries, we can turn our collective knowledge into real action for children, families, and educators. That day set the tone for everything that's happened since. So the conversation started at the summit, made one thing clear. There was enormous excitement about the idea of an ongoing collaborative, not just one-day event. People wanted a place to stay connected, to keep learning together, and to actually build something lasting. So In the months following the summit, our newly expanded leadership team and working group, which is made up of researchers, community partners, funders, and early education leaders, began meeting regularly over the summer to figure out what that could look like, basically. So over the summer, we met several times to talk about who we are as a collective and what values will guide our work and what ultimately we want to accomplish together. Of course, nothing is fully set yet, and that's, I mean, the best part because we're gonna work on that together. Um, the conversations truly have been around how to build trust, surfacing what matters most to people, and beginning to sketch what a sustained, equity-driven early childhood research collaborative could be in Massachusetts. So through those meetings, we've started to outline the foundation of how we'll work. First, like Patrice has introduced, our research must be community-centered and ethical, designed with the people and programs we aim to support. It must be collaborative and interdisciplinary, recognizing that early childhood challenges across sectors and systems. And it must be actionable, ensuring that what we learn translates into tangible improvements in classrooms, programs, and policy. We've also spent some time identifying who's not yet at the table, like who's missing, acknowledging that while we have strong representation across the different sectors, we still need to make more room for educators, families, and emerging scholars to participate and lead, which is always hard to actually reach. One major product of this work so far is the 2025 MAEC-PRC report. This report captures the collective journey of how the collaborative has taken shape from the first summit through the summer's planning meetings. It synthesizes insights from more than 100 stakeholders, documents our shared values and governance ideas, and begins to chart a roadmap for the next phase of our work. In many ways, it's both a reflection of what we've learned and a blueprint of what comes next. So, what's to come? First, we are planning the next summit for 2026, building on the success of the first, but with an even more intentional focus on policy alignment and action, bringing researchers and decision makers together to co-design solutions. Second, we are strengthening our cross-state connections. This summer, actually, some of us Kyle and I forgot Wendy, several members of our team presented at the NERP annual forum and NERPP. And we've connected with similar collaboratives in New York City, New Hampshire, and Chicago. I think that's also captured in the report. Those conversations helped us see that what we're building here in Massachusetts doesn't just fill a local gap. It can also contribute nationally to how research collaboratives function and share power with the communities. And third, we are trying to develop the infrastructure to support this collaborative long term, like a shared data and research hub that makes Massachusetts-based early childhood work more visible and accessible, a public-facing website to showcase projects and connections, and governance structures and norms to guide how we operate and share responsibility. So, just to sum up, in just a few months, we've gone from ideas to some basic infrastructure. We started with a one-day event and turned it into a growing, energized network that's co-creating the foundation of a sustainable, hopefully, equity-driven research ecosystem in early childhood. And what's next is about deepening that foundation, continuing to ask hard questions about how we do this work, who we do it with, and how we can make sure it leads to real change for children and families across the Commonwealth. I'm going to pass it to Dahi to talk about if you want to join us, how.
Thank you, Sue. As you can see that we have been really working hard to get this off the ground and we've done the groundwork and we'd love for all of you to join us. We'd like to invite you to join us. And there are different capacities of a way to join the collaborative. You can join our listserv just to see what's going on, what are the new things that are happening. You can also join our work group where we'll be planning the next summit in 2026. And you can also join us in terms of joining our leadership team as well. So you can scan the QR code that's on the screen and you can sort of choose in what capacity you like to join our collaborative and get involved.
Thank you so much, everyone. Just a quick photo of the 2025 summit. where that took place in April, and another opportunity for you to scan that QR code. I'm going to stop sharing now so that we can all see each other and just take a moment to offer any question, a space for any questions that you might have. I know Elin was kind of moderating the chat, so if there was any questions that came up in there, I'm sure she got to you, but just to open the space.
Can you just explain what NERP is for us? I started my conversation, three conversations yesterday by saying I'm not a researcher, but so tell us about NERP.
Absolutely. I'm going to pass that off to Kyle because she was our presenter at NERP.
Hi, everyone. I actually just put a link to the organization's website in the chat. This is a national network to bring together people and projects that are doing research, what's considered research practice partnerships. So these are projects that are deeply looking at not just having the researchers doing their thing, but working in partnership with policymakers and practitioners. A lot of the work in the past has been around K-12, but there's actually quite a bit of early childhood partnerships. Some of you are nodding on the call, and I know that you've been involved with them in the past. So we had a great workshop in the summer where we were able to come and talk about what we're trying to do in Massachusetts. We were there with Jess Carson, who is on the call today. She has started a collaborative similar to this. There's Jess waving. About a year before we started. So we really use it as a space to hear what other people around the country have been doing. New York City has a network for early childhood research. So we're trying to learn both what other states are doing and locations are doing, but also think about how we are different in Massachusetts. So it's an interesting organization to take a look at.
And as Siobhan said, there's a lot, well, there's a lot of love and appreciation in the chat, and a lot of observation. Now we have 109 folks here. Can you talk a little bit about, so I scan the QR code and I want to get involved. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like, what the opportunities might be?
Sure. One of the focuses that we are hoping we will gain more participation in is our summit working group. You heard a little bit about having 111 participants, 60 organizations back in April. We are trying to expand that offering in 2026. So we as a collaborative would like to host another summit, and I would love your participation in planning it to ensure that we have a even more widespread offering of voices to plan the collaborative, where we will have even more stakeholders showcasing their research, their talents, and their voice around early childhood policy and research. That's one offering for the QR code. The second one is just to join the collaborative as a whole. We are all on this call because we have an invested interest in the way early childhood is going. And so just being a part of the collaborative is a great way to stay informed and up to date on new and upcoming research and policy development.
Thanks, Siobhan. Lots of shout outs for you also in the chat. Chris Marina says, would love to have you share this with our Teach Plus policy fellows and alum at one of our upcoming policy sessions. So get in touch with Chris. Echo Latino is in, Harold enthusiastically says. There's also a lot of there. Kim Allen is shouting you out, Siobhan, and from the Rennie Center Fellowship for Early Education. So there's a lot of connections here. And exciting to hear that you're planning another summit. Kyle or Kim, can you talk a little bit about what you did at the Early Childhood Summit now 2 weeks ago in Worcester, and just kind of how that connects to all of this?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. We were invited by SFC, by Strategies for Children, to host one of the panel sessions during the Early Childhood Summit out in Worcester. Super exciting. And what we did was we did an activity, actually. I know that nerds are often folks who lecture at folks, but we're not those types of nerds. We're the types of nerds to dive right in and do the stuff with you all. So one of the things we did was ask folks, if you had blank kinds of data, then you'd be able to do what kinds of actions. And we did kind of a Mad Lib style exercise with small tables and groups of folks kind of discussing this. Kyle and her team just finished coding all of these into and organizing everything. And we're super excited to take what we've learned from the summit. And if you have any more to share with us, please do share with us, either in the chat or get a hold of one of us. And we will compile all of these things and push it out. The goal is here a couple things. Number one, you're probably not alone in wanting this type of data, this type of research to be able to move your work forward. So, how can we connect you to other folks who also need those data? And then, how can we connect you to other researchers or data folks who can get you that information? Sometimes it's already out there and you just need someone to go collect it and collate and put it together either in a visual or just in a pile of data stuff. Like, here's a set of links, here you go. And sometimes you need some original research. And that's kind of what we're here for, is to be able to say, well, we've got a bunch of nerds who are interested. We've got a bunch of nerds who are excited and who may even be doing this work right now. Let's connect you to those folks so that you get what you need and so that your work is research, evidence-based, and can move forward in the way that you'd like to see it move.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Just going through chat. Jade says, this work is incredibly important. Thank you for your commitment. A special shout out to Siobhan for doing it all and bringing to the forefront the importance of early childhood advocacy. Kyle said there's as many people on the call today who attended the April Summit. That's incredible. Kate Brand says, thank you for all your work to elevate policy and research in the field. Um, and then lots of shout outs to Nicole. And let me just see. Elizabeth Walsh says, thank you for all the work you have done. Excited to see what happens next. So glad I joined the call today. Thanks, Siobhan and team. Thank you for all your work. Kyle said over 80 people filled out the note cards at the SFC Summit. That is exciting. And then the prompt is, if I had data on, I would be able to do X. Sonal said, I love this. Kim loved this activity at the summit. Danubia said, hi, Kim. Would your team also have the capacity to write case studies on philanthropic strategic investments?
That's a great question. And I think one of the things that we're looking to do is make sure that our team is intergenerational. And so what that means is, as you can tell, we've got folks who are senior scientists, folks who are junior scientists, and folks who are up and coming scientists. We would love to bring on more folks in the up and coming scientist realm to be able to lend capacity to do that type of work. And like, I think we could take on figuring out strategic investments and case studies is a form of research, right? Is a way of looking and understanding what's in the landscape, what have folks done, and let's write that up. So yeah, we could totally do that, and we'd love to bring on younger folks, also folks who are not who don't like Amy. I always hear you say like
I
I'm not a
know, I
nerd,
know.
but you are a
I'm a
nerd. You're
researcher.
totally nerd out on
Totally
all of
nerd.
this stuff. And even if you don't think you're a nerd, we'd love to invite you. If you feel nerdy, then we are here to feel nerdy with you about all of
I'm
this.
down, Kim. I'm down. As soon as I said it, I was like, scarcity mentality, Amy, go to abundance. Nick wondered more curious about the question, what types of investments in research and strategic expansions of childcare supply? To Danubia's question. So Danubia, and maybe Nick, we can connect you and Danubia and Kim.
Yeah, I will. What I'll do is I'll respond to it on the chat.
Thanks, Danubia. It's the 4 minutes we have left, which is a lifetime here on the 9:30 call. Um, And any other folks can come live, even if to share observations. It doesn't have to be a question. It can be appreciation.
Well,
Um,
I want to just take the time to give a shout out to Danubia and the Boston Foundation and to Lydia and Melora at the Commonwealth Children's Fund. They were initial folks who really saw the value in doing this work and invested in us during the time over summer, over spring and throughout summer to be able to get all of this work done. And all the things that you see in this report are definitely possible because of both their support, but also because of the hard work of this expanded leadership team and the working group. And so just want to acknowledge everyone's hard work. And we are trying to embody and really give an example of what does it look like when nerds, when philanthropy, when folks from the field, obviously, and some of us are a little bit of all of these things, come together to make sure that we all get the information, the research, the data that we need.
Thanks,
And
Kim.
one last piece from me in terms of the listserv and the collaborative joining and also the summit working group. The summit working group will have their first meeting next week, Thursday on November 6th at 10 a.m. So it will be a quick turnaround if you do choose to join us because there is much work to be done for the summit to be set off in the spring of 2026. So I hope you'll join us and thank you so much.
Thanks, Siobhan. I also want to just raise up the higher ed piece of this, right? To see higher ed respond, to see so many higher ed universities, colleges represented, and even just the folks who introduced themselves on the call. I also am teaching in the BU WheeLock new master's program in leadership policy and advocacy. And just to see the shift, to hear about UMass and the PhD program, to see so many, we had Jessica Acevedo, working on family, childcare, and housing and her dissertation. So just I think that is another shift and would be really interesting to think about like what did it take to see the higher ed really change the way it's thinking about research, policy, advocacy, leadership, building these programs, and that, as I said, in Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. Getting folks involved. We know so many folks in this work are working full-time jobs, trying to go to school, trying to figure out ways to fit it all in. And so just want to take a moment to appreciate that and gratitude for the higher ed institutions who, have a lot of their own processes to get things done, to be able to be kind of willing to think a little bit differently and see what could be, is really, really exciting. So, continuous appreciation and love in the chat. Tom Weber, that is what consortium is off is which is awesome. And then there is the who, all of you, which is awesomer. Every day I'm just so impressed with the extraordinary, growing, and inspiring talent in this field. Thank you. I think we'll end it there, T-Dubs. Thanks so much for everybody for joining us. I will send the chat. I'll send it to Kim and Siobhan, and then you will can share it with other folks. Tomorrow on the call, we're gonna have sharing the mic. We have some people lined up. Our past couple sharing the mics have been so incredible. So hopefully we'll have 100 people on tomorrow as well. And please, we don't often, do our plug, but tell others about the 9:30 call. We are reaching like scratching the surface of folks that can benefit from being here in community. So please, even if you think that people know about it, please continue to spread the word. It was incredible to see 100 people tune in today. It is inspirational, Clarence. That's where you and I, a Red Sox and Yankee fan, can agree. I don't know if anybody watched the game last night. Wow, I tried to stay up, but I fell asleep. But Freddie Freeman did it again. But go Blue Jays. We will see everyone tomorrow. Have a good day.